Everyone, this is a special meeting of the Talbot County Council. We're going to start with an opening prayer. If we could, everyone please stand for opening prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to offer a prayer this morning, a prayer of remembrance as we're going into the Memorial Day weekend. This is a time set aside to remember those who paid the ultimate price for this country, that in their actual life. So I want to offer a prayer of remembrance for those who have died on the battlefield, who have died struggling for liberty and struggling for democracy. I want to ask a special prayer for those families of those loved ones as we go into the Memorial Day celebration. Let us not to forget there is always a cost to freedom, and those individuals have paid the ultimate price. Keep them in our prayers, keep them in our thoughts. And as we also go through a different type of battle right now dealing with this pandemic, let us also remember those who have perished in its wake, and let us remember them in our prayers and thoughts as well. And God, keep us, strengthen us, and unite us. This we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. I do apologize for running late. I ran from one class to a conference meeting, and now to be before this august group of individuals. So I do apologize for running a little bit late here. As I said before in the introduction, this is a special meeting. We don't have a few matters before us today. Hopefully we can get through this without too much delay. The first matter we have before us, well, let me start first with the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, the chair moves that they be accepted with unanimous consent. Ms. Morris, is this background noise being picked up by the...
It is. It's Tony's texting that there's lots of feedback and echo on the line.
If you turn your speaker all the way down, you won't get that echo for now.
I hear people talking in the background, so I don't know whether we need to ask people to mute their phones.
Yes.
If you're on the call with us, we would ask that you mute your phones so we won't pick up any background noise. We certainly appreciate that. Okay, so Council, the agenda is accepted with unanimous consent. There's no additions, deletions, or corrections to it. Next matter on your agenda is an amendment to the local emergency declaration regarding COVID-19, which this council did issue on March the 16th. We did amend it on March the 31st and amended also on April the 28th. We are now entering our 68th day of the COVID epidemic here in Talbot County. Of course, we activated our EOC under the direction of Director Stamp, working alongside our County Health Officer, Dr. Frida Watley, and a very dedicated and professional group across the county. So in your agenda, you should have the emergency declaration, and I'm going to get myself together to pull it up. I do apologize for that. So you should have a version of declaration that's being offered by myself, a version of declaration that's being offered by Ms. Price. The declaration itself, there's no difference in those other than the declaration that's offered by myself does go through, and Ms. Cooper-Smith, I'm going to call on you in just a moment, so please stand by. The declaration that is being offered by myself does require the posting of two exhibits dealing with the coronavirus and also dealing with the towns, the incorporated towns here in Talbot County. As we do know, the incorporated towns here in the county, they do have their own authority to set and enact ordinances and laws to govern those towns. In conversations that we've had with the towns, a few of them have enacted more restrictive measures for visitors coming into the town. So one thing that in my conversation with some of our town leaders was to make sure that if we do open up our STRs, people coming into the county, if they're going to venture into St. Michael's or venture into Oxford, that they be made aware of those differences. Sometimes you come into a county, unlike, for example, Baltimore County, which has no incorporated towns in Baltimore County, here we do. So when you're coming into Talbot County, as you're going from town to town, you know, the jurisdiction changes and the rules may change. So, so that our guests in the STRs won't become a burden, I wouldn't say a burden, but so they would be aware that in St. Michael's, there's a face masking provision. If you're in public walking about, make sure you have that with you, make sure you put that on. If you come within 6 feet of an individual, you must have the face mask on. The town of Oxford, their beaches are still closed, their parks are still closed, so making sure that people are aware of that, so when they're going into Oxford, they just can't rush down to the beach because it's still closed. So the provision, the amendment that I'm offering does require the posting of that along with the CDC guidelines, so that persons are aware of those differences as they move about the county. It doesn't require any more effort on the part of the property owner other than printing it and posting it. Again, it's for the benefit of their guests, for them to enjoy their visit, as also for the benefit of our municipal government, so that they won't be overburdened with any enforcement issues on their end. The other item was one that we received from Ms. Hardiston last time we met. She had some recommendations that the industry as a whole had come together and had offered up to us, and I thought it was a good idea that those recommendations also be a part of this, so that cleaning regimens were being done appropriately, impervious surfaces were being wiped down, and the likes. So if you were to look at the section 10 on your emergency declaration, it does speak about Exhibit A to be posted in, and these exhibits are in Granicus. Exhibit A to be posted, so visitors will have knowledge of it. Exhibit B was also referenced in it as well. And also Exhibit C, again, which are those incorporated town notices, so that they would have that aware during their visit. Other than that, the declaration does extend for another 30 days. Myself and Mr. Lesher did speak with our Director of Emergency Services, Mr. Stamp. We also had email correspondence with a health officer regarding the relaxing of the STR provisions. Both of them seemed very comfortable with it. And I must admit openly to you all that I had some hesitation, and which I shared with some of you, about opening STRs. I just, you know, I guess I'm a naturally cautious guy, and I had some hesitation about it. I just want to make sure that, and I know that in life there are no guarantees. In life there's always going to be a measure of risk. I certainly understand that. So,
Mr. President, I'd like to add to that.
add to my hesitation or my cautiousness?
Either or.
Either or. Okay.
Either or. I would like the public to understand too, that St. Michael's and Easton hadn't shut down with their SDRs. And I want the public to understand that.
Actually,
Or in Oxford.
and actually,
Yes.
yeah.
So, you know, they need to sort of understand that, you know, we went a little bit farther on our end to help things, but they never shut down. Some of the motels never shut down. And I think the perception of the public not understanding that some of these municipalities weren't shut down, and we were.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mr. Callahan, that, as I stated in my opening comment, the municipal governments are incorporated, they do have their own authority, and therefore, if they chose not to prohibit the stay of STRs, they were well within their right to do that.
Yes, sir.
They did not do that. And instead, they took the, when I say they, I mean the industry.
Correct.
The industry took what this body did as their mode of operation and chose not to rent anywhere within the incorporated body as well. So that was more of an industry decision. They were being respectful, and we appreciate that. I just want to say to Eastern Shore Rentals and all the other rental agencies, we certainly appreciate them taking the position not to rent in the incorporated towns, although they had the right to do so, because our prohibition did not cover the incorporated towns. But as an industry model, they decided not to rent anywhere within the county, and we certainly appreciate that. Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Callahan, people are not clearly hearing you, so I would just remind all the council to speak, move the phone toward you and speak directly into the microphone. Mr. Pack, you're fine, but you and others can do that.
Sure,
Going forward,
absolutely, absolutely. I just want to the people that didn't hear me, I just wanted to make it crystal clear that some of the municipalities on their STRs were not shut down. And the county actually took an effort to control some of our SDRs, which we control 141, I think the number is, somewhere around 141. So, you know, there was a little bit of lack of communication that St. Michael's, Easton, and Oxford were still in business for SDRs. So I just really wanted the public to understand that.
Good point. And over on page 3 of the declaration, it does, under section 6, give the extension for another 30 days. Again, the conversation I had with Mr. Stanton for the 30 days would give us the amount of time to continue looking at the number, looking at the data, seeing how the trend lines were going. Hear from Dr. Wiley. I know she is in the process of setting up her contact tracers and getting them situated. Excuse me. So, you know, that's going to take some time to get them together. They have been hired, and now they have to just go ahead and find a place to work out of. So page 3 covers that 30-day expansion. For that, everything else in the emergency declaration that this body enacted previously stays the same. The language, the wherefore languages are all the same. It's just dealing with the extension of the document itself for another 30 days. And as I pointed out, the short-term rental being immediately, if voted upon today, up and running, and then those 3 exhibits being also made available to visitors. So that's the declaration that was offered up by myself. Again, Mrs. Price offered a similar declaration, same language, did not have the provisions, all the provisions that in my declaration entitled. I think that the one.
So let me just jump in just for a second.
Go ahead. I can't find
I have the same language. I just put mine all in the exhibit itself, or that certainly is my intent. I was trying so that we don't, if the exhibit changes, paragraph 10 was shorter, but I moved the language about the CDC and the municipalities into 2 other bullet points in Exhibit A. So I think that Mr. Pack and I are saying the exact same thing. I just put all of mine in the exhibit so as not to make the language in paragraph 10 really wordy. Does that make sense? Because if we need to update this language, it's easier to update an exhibit than the entire declaration. So I do intend to be in line with, you know, that they do need to post the CDC
Right.
requirements and all. And I think we've, just real quick before we get into this, we've all used the word recommend, and I do think that we should require them to be posted, and I'm not sure if that's clear in our documentation, but where it says, I mean, while we can't require someone to get delivery service, we can require the owner of the unit to post those things that this is, we're requiring the posting. Now, obviously, there are recommendations as far as utilizing a delivery service, for example, on food. We don't have any way to force that, therefore we can't require it, but we can require these things to be posted and communicated. So if there is any language, and I'm kind of directing this towards Tony, if there's any language, at least for me, if there's any language that says recommend they be posted, I would like them to say required to be posted.
I'm having difficulty with my system here. I can't bring both of the,
Yours is not in the system, that's why she just printed them out.
oh.
There was a change to Exhibit C early this morning. Once Mr. Cooper Smith received all the information from the towns, we thought we had uploaded it, but there was a glitch apparently.
So the paper copy is in this current proposal from you, Mr. Pack.
Okay.
I've got a question. With Mr. Pack, Exhibit C, I really like how this lays out all the different towns and what everybody's doing. Do we have anything else like that on a county website, or is that, I feel like, I know that the information that is put out from the Emergency Operations Center would be too cumbersome for, you know, tourists to follow, but for citizens, and just from my knowledge, sometimes on the weekends, I'm trying to figure out which park or what's open.
Well, currently both Mr. Pack's proposal and Ms. Price's proposal are listed under pending legislation.
But I like how this breaks down, which, like Oxford, you can't go to the park, but, you know, other ones.
We can make this available. Eric Kellner from Easton PD is, of course, been assigned to the EOC, and he was getting all the information from the towns and putting them on the spreadsheet.
Perfect.
Now,
Because ease of use will be what makes this happen. If it's easy for the consumer, the individual, whoever, the tourist, anybody to see what they can and can't do, and then easily link that right to a map or to the towns.
we should be able to get Cassandra maybe to put this on the tourism website.
That would be a
and
great
way,
spot, yes.
Even if you're a day visitor, if you're not staying for a
Yeah.
rental, if you're a day visitor coming into the area and you're looking for things to do, that's a good idea. So, Ms. Morris, depending on how this vote shakes out in the moment, make a note that we're going to ask Ms. Van Heuser if she can upload the Exhibit C into her website, and that way day visitors or overnight visitors would have the ability to see what's available.
So I do have, I think it could be problematic to make this part of our declaration. I think, again, why I did it all in one exhibit was because they may update. And so if we've got a document, a hard copy document that says what these guidelines are, they could change them tomorrow. So what I would recommend is just put simple language in there that you should be aware of any restrictions that are different in the municipalities and give them a website to go to, rather than list these specifically, because they could update these tomorrow. And then you've got different guidance. You've got a document that's part of our emergency declaration that says Easton does ABC, and then Easton changes and eliminates C. Which document? So I think it should be more generic, saying you are required to follow the guidelines in the 5 municipalities within Talbot County. And at that point, it's up to them to make sure that they are checking the website. And we can certainly post updated copies on our website, but to refer to an actual specific document at 10:26 a.m. on the 21st of May, I think could be problematic and conflicting. So if we could take the spirit of what Mr. Pack is trying to do and just move it to a document that's easily updated online, I think that might be better. It brings the awareness that they need to check. At some point now, it is about personal responsibility, and they need to, if we say, yes, you need to go and check. If you're going to Oxford or St. Michael's, they may have different guidelines. Please go to the website to check what their guidelines are.
Yeah, I mean, you can expand upon that. I mean, these are the latest that we got from them as of yesterday. So these are the most up-to-date changes from each of the towns. As you see, Oxford, Queen Anne and Trapp had none. I will be open to keeping this document as it is, and if you wanted to amend the document just to give the Town of Easton website, Mrs. Morris, right? It says Town of Easton and put the website there. Town of St. Michael to put the website there. That's fine too. This is what we know as of today.
Right.
They can always click on that and go to that website. So I hear what you're saying. The chances of them changing this on a day-to-day basis is probably slim to none.
Well, let's just give you an example. The CDC just changed their recommendations yesterday and said that the virus is not contagious if on the surface. That if it lives there and you touch it, it's not contagious. So I would hope that we're going to update playgrounds in the next couple of days based on the new CDC guidance. So I think they won't change it on a day-to-day basis, but this because they keep, it's almost like the CDC and the WHO, they keep moving the goalposts, changing the bouncing ball. So I just want to be able to not have to have these emergency meetings to update ours so that they refer to documents without specific language, and we can keep this updated, certainly on our website, on our COVID-19 website. But I'm just a little worried about that.
I will meet you at the halfway point and ask Ms. Morris to put the website of each of the towns next to the title of the town so that person can click on that if they choose to and go to that. Again, the chances of Easton or St. Michael's changing as frequently as the CDC or WHO are probably slim to none. They don't want to go through the hassle of bouncing people back and forth either. So, but yeah, we'll put the website there beside each of the titles, and
especially the outdoor stuff, the beaches and things like that. I mean, that's just something that I really hope that they do update in the next couple of days because of the knowledge and that we have.
They just had a meeting Tuesday, so chances are this will probably stand through the weekend.
Maybe a week.
Yeah, through the
But
weekend.
we don't want to have to come back here and change this in.
No, so we'll put, I mean, this doesn't really need to be changed. This is just for their knowledge. And so that they can click on it and see what those towns have enacted. Again, this is just a user-friendly guide so that visitors coming into the county won't, and I use the word be a nuisance or burden to the towns. If they go into St. Michael's, and people will rent their home in the county, the STR, but they'll end up going into the towns at some point during their visit for lunch or dinner or just to casually stroll around. Well, if that's the case, then hey, make them aware of what those towns have put in place, and that's all this was meant to do. That's all. We don't need to change it again. If the towns decide next week or next month that they are going to open the beaches, then you click on the website and follow those guidelines. So this is just a more of a informational document, just so that people would be made aware. So that's it. And
So Mr. President, we have two of them, so how are we going to blend them together and just do one, or what's your
well,
thought?
my language already includes, the only thing that my language differs from Mrs. Price is that I'm not requiring them to sign anything. And I think that she was using the language of the sign that they have been quarantined for 14 days.
I never did, I never gave that guidance.
That was in, I'm trying to pull it up.
Exhibit A number 6.
Yeah, number 6 on your document for them to sign it. I removed that. I did not feel that they should have to sign anything, that they should be made aware that they should be quarantined,
Oh,
and not
okay.
have to sign
So,
anything. So that's.
That only came from the vacation rental place.
Yeah, it was their recommendation that they gave us, and I read through it, didn't feel that, for me, that I wanted to, I mean, you may have felt differently, but I didn't feel that we need to require them to sign anything, so I took that out. So that is a difference there in my
Okay,
judgment.
all right, gotcha. So do we need a vote on each one of them, or are we just gonna go with, Mrs. Price, are you feel comfortable with going with Corey's?
So let's just talk about the language that's in the emergency declaration first, and we'll sort out the exhibits.
Okay,
I was wanting to simplify because I thought paragraph 10 got really long. So I would prefer to move, I'm okay with the language. I would prefer to move some of the new language over to our exhibit so that we can just refer to it. That way I think it's easier to update an exhibit rather than the entire document.
And I think Mr. Pack was okay with that.
sure. Tony, you online with us?
Yep.
Mr. Cooper Smith is texting that there is a great deal of static online.
Someone's replaying our conversation back, that I hear you speaking. Mr. Cooper Smith?
Do we want to put him on one of our phones? Would that be easier than this phone?
Oh, I'm not the tech guy. You had to talk to Ms. Moran about that. Ms. Morris about that.
I'll give him a call.
Okay, so let's proceed on what Andy's trying to reach him. So it's just moving the exhibits to, the language of the exhibits out of paragraph 10 and moving them,
Into Exhibit A. And
I'm sorry, moving them into exhibit?
yeah, so basically taking your language that you put, the new language you put in 10.
Uh-huh,
So where it says, if we're working off of yours,
uh-huh.
and it says, all owners of short-term rentals and bed and breakfast shall ensure that a copy of, and I would put in there, Exhibit A, which is going to include, and then Exhibit A is going to talk about the copy of the CDC prevention guidance that you have, and,
Ms. Morris, did you give me a copy of my printed? This is my former one, since I can't pull it up here for whatever reason.
she
The
just
one
handed
she
you
gave us,
one.
the one she gave us is yours.
She just handed
Oh,
you
this is
one.
mine.
Yeah, this is yours, right here. This is yours.
So can you follow along? Or can I have a copy?
So, and then, so for example, you have in paragraph 10, the county council recommends that owners and residents, agents familiarize travelers with any special restrictions adopted by the county's 5 municipalities. I'm saying just move that into the exhibit so that it keeps the language clean in paragraph 10. I'm not proposing removing any language, just moving it over to the exhibit. That they must refer to it. Require that they refer to it. Because at some point, those municipalities may remove all of those restrictions, and it's not necessary to be in our emergency declaration.
Okay, I found the section you're referring to now, and you're saying to move it into,
Into our exhibit. So we can just make one long exhibit.
So
basically.
you're really pulling it out of the declaration into an exhibit?
Yes,
So we don't have to keep modifying the
Correct.
declaration?
Yep.
I'm finally understanding what we're doing here.
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're
So
talking about,
Mr. Cooper Smith is now able to hear your discussion if you had a question.
yeah, okay, I just want to make sure he was following along with the bouncing ball, because I certainly wasn't, but now,
Right.
so when you say, you mean to pull language out of here and type it into Exhibit A?
Yeah, the new language that you added about the CDC
Yeah.
posting, about the municipalities,
Right,
and the guidelines are
Okay.
then all basically one document that must be posted.
I'm okay, I mean,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Tony, are you following this? don't be afraid to say no.
You got your.
Tony, am I on?
Turn your speaker back up.
Am I speaking back now? Tony? You hearing? I'm not hearing it. Are you hearing me, Tony?
I'm going to take everybody off of mute and see if that.
And one moment, if anybody is not
That's
speaking,
you coming back through.
I think somebody's watching
She come up from there.
YouTube.
They must be
right, they
watching
need
TV.
to mute their telephones. Everybody but Tony needs to mute their telephone, please.
Tony?
So, Mr. Pack, you could ask him to call me directly, we'll bring the phone up there and mic it, and then you can hear the
Okay. All right, I think I understand where Mrs. Price is coming from. So as we're trying to get a hold of our
Good.
county attorney.
Good.
Okay, so, hey, Tony. So what we're looking to do here, this is the recommendation that Mrs. Price has offered up, is just to take the Exhibit B language and put it in Exhibit A, which requires it to be posted.
Yeah, I think I understand what she's saying. She's just basically saying, rather than having 3 separate exhibits, let's just have one exhibit.
Well, you still have Exhibit C, which is the,
Right. Tony, I'm actually saying the new language in paragraph 10, move that to the exhibit. We can have 3 separate, the CDC is its own thing. We're not going to merge that with ours. We have our recommendations that came from the vacation rental people. And if you look at currently my Exhibit A, it includes a couple of things from Corey's. I think we can beef it up a little bit and just literally move the new language from 10, which refers to the CDC, which refers to the municipalities, and move that in as the heading of our exhibit, and then we can bullet out everything else that's already there. And it keeps
So
the...
I'm looking at your Exhibit A right now, and item 1 on your Exhibit A is posting
Yep.
the CDC recommendations. Item 2 is providing information related to the municipalities. So my sense is you're putting everything into one exhibit.
Correct, other than you're going to have a separate CDC because it's all pretty and has pictures and things like that. That's going to be separate. But I had already done basically what I'm asking to be done, and I had already bullet point 1 and bullet point 2 already do. That's why I said, where he said my recommendations are the same, I just put it in the exhibit.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys can certainly do that. You can either have multiple exhibits or just one exhibit. You can, I think the real differences are Mr. Pack's proposal had required the posting of the CDC information, and I think yours recommended that.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it being required.
Mr. Pax had listed out the special restrictions for the municipalities, and yours was the more generic language. So those are some of the differences that would need to be resolved.
So if we want to beef up number 2 a little bit, saying requiring that posting, and then again refer to our website, their website, whatever, because I'm again making a hard copy with what today's requirements are as part of our declaration. I'm concerned, so I just want to make sure that they are required to post whatever is current. So if they're running out this week, it's going to be what's there now, and if they're running out 2 weeks from now, if the municipalities have updated it, then that vacation owner needs to post whatever the current requirement is, which would change.
So I imagine this being an electronic document
Yes.
that the renter is going to receive in their email and hopefully save and then go back and reference. So if we kept item number 2 in and left hyperlinks for every town available, then they could click on those hyperlinks, go right to the town's websites. It's going to overburden some towns because every town meets at different schedules and things will be changing constantly. But it'll be on each town's website, so they'll have that ability to update.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a way to do that, exactly right. And then, again, repeating myself, but the chances of the towns changing this on a weekly basis are probably very, very minuscule. Again, I'm certainly open to just putting that website, as you said before, putting the link on the document. They can just click on it and bring it up if there's any changes. If the beaches do open, you click on it, and the beaches open. So by 4th of July, maybe the beaches are open. We may not even be in a state of emergency or as to this level come 4th of July. I'm good with it either way. I mean, we can leave it as 3 documents. We can take Exhibit B language. I'm really not requiring them to post the information regarding the towns. I would like it to be made available to them, either, as Mr. DeVillio said, through a link, through electronic filing that they can get at their booking, or hand it to them in a hard copy with that address on it. They don't really have to post that, but just be aware of it. The CDC guidelines, I am asking that we have them post that, but the recommendations that we got from the industry, just be aware of it. You're not required to post it, just be aware of the cleaning that we're asking you to do or recommending that you do, and just be aware of what the towns have in place. And I'm not asking that we have them post that, I'm not asking that we have them sign anything, just be aware of it.
So I do want these, whether it's 6 bullet points or 7 bullet points, whatever we decide, I do think that the vacation rental owner should be required to send this document out.
Are you referring to Exhibit B?
Yeah, it's all in one for me, or Exhibit B for you, including now bullet points 1 and 2. I do want those owners, while we can't require that they use a delivery service. We can't, require that they bring their own stuff. I think it's really important that they do have the document. That when they're making a booking, that these 6 or 7 bullet points, whatever they are, must go out with the reservation, along with the CDC guidelines. And because we already know we can't buy hand sanitizer, we can't get PPE. And so some of these bullet points say that guests come prepared with their own equipment, with their own cleaning supplies, because our own citizens can't get them. Have you ever tried to buy toilet paper recently? It's been 8 weeks and we still can't get it. So, supplies are in short supply here, maybe even more so in a smaller area. So, I think that's really important, that anybody that's coming here needs to come with their own stuff, because, there are certain supplies that we're not able ourselves to get. So anyway, and my point is, this document should be required to go out to the people who are renting, and hopefully they will follow them. And we're, strongly encouraging them. We don't have any way to enforce it, so we can't require it, but we can require the document to go out with the rental agreement.
Again, I'm open.
So you don't want them to require that this document goes out, because it refers to the CDC and it refers to the municipalities.
You're talking about the cleaning recommendation we got from Ms. Harderson? Is that what we're looking at, the same thing?
So this one right here, which right now is my Exhibit A,
Oh, yes. Let me see.
they need to send that via email to their person who's renting.
Yeah.
Because it says, it doesn't say that it's required to be sent out.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, is that this document needs to be sent out, and hopefully that person who's renting is going to follow those. But they have to send the document. it's not optional to send the document. It's not optional to send the CDC guideline. They have to at least send it out when they're booking a reservation.
Let me see if I can get you where you want to be. I'm on the bottom of page 4, council. Last sentence on page 4 reads, the county council recommends all short-term rentals and bed and breakfast, and it says follow the following guidelines. We can take out the word follow, and we can say that they must provide the following guidelines, and we say provide it in writing, it provide.
Well, go up 4 lines where it says, because we don't need all of the language in 10, we're trying to move some of that. Go up to where it says, all owners of short-term rentals and bed and breakfast shall ensure that a copy of,
That's the CDC.
no, don't say CDC, because everything's now moved into the exhibit. So you're
Well-
taking out the language about the CDC because we've moved that into the exhibit. You're taking it out of 10. Remember, we're taking the new language out of 10 and moving it to the
But
exhibit.
that's the point I'm not really following with you when you say, let me hear from Mr. Lester.
Tony already understands that. Look at my exhibit A now on your computer. Look at bullet point 1.
We're also getting into a little bit of semantics of sending it out and posting it at the residence.
So let's simplify this. Just look at bullet point 1. Everybody's with me? The language that's in 10 on Corey's is now in my exhibit A. Same language. You good? The language in his exhibit, whatever, about the municipalities is now in my bullet point 2, and we're going to put hyperlinks. Okay? So now that we're going to shorten section 10, because it's now in the exhibit, my proposal is to keep the language and under Governor Hogan's executive orders, and then all owners of short-term rentals and bed and breakfast shall ensure that a copy of Exhibit A, or whatever we want to call it, shall be sent out to the renter.
Shall be posted or provided to every
Yes,
renter,
yes.
or
And,
every
you know,
new incoming family.
period. And then you just pick up with a non-exhaustive, or whatever, effective date of this third emergency declaration.
Mr. Lester?
Mr. Pack, we have 2 very similar proposals in front of us. I don't have strong feelings about which one we follow, but I am, Mr. Price, with all due respect, I'm a little concerned about editing on the fly. I'm not sure that everybody around the table will be completely clear on what we're voting on if we edit on the fly.
We didn't.
And I'm
It's-
afraid this is how a mistake could be made in interpretation.
It's not. It's already in my Exhibit A on my
So
proposal.
I would prefer to just use yours or to use Mr. Pack's. And if we need to edit 1 or 2 words, perhaps we can be clear about, but I'd rather be voting on something that looks like a clean copy so that we're not, just so that we're all clear what we're voting on.
So
And
I think mine is clear, because if it just says council, and I would just say, instead of recommends, requires that all short-term, I'm going to change 1 word in my paragraph 10. The county council requires that all short-term rentals and bed and breakfasts post the guidelines set forth in Exhibit A attached.
You can't change 1 word.
No, he said changing 1 or 2 words is fine, so I'm changing the word recommend to require, and instead of follow, distribute.
I understand that,
That's
but you have an amendment there already made up. So
It's already here.
I understand, I understand. I don't want to complicate it, but we have an amendment. We got 2 amendments. If we change them, Mr. Lusher's right.
If you follow mine, I'm proposing changing 2 words,
But that's up to council, you're changing it.
but it's not confusing.
I understand that. I'm not arguing with you. All I'm saying is, when it gets sent out, the people that aren't listening and the public's not listening, it's going to be different with what they're reading for yours and then the new one. And if it's only 2 words, they're reading differently.
Yeah, but it's going to be updated and posted. So if we're going to go with mine, I'm just saying, I'm going to say that I agree with the language in Mr. Pack's number 10, but I don't think it should be in the emergency declaration because it is likely to change, and it's going to require a lot of effort to come back and undo this, so that's why I said let's just move that language into there, which I've already done in my proposal, so I don't think it's at all confusing. We've had a long discussion, but I've already done, Mr. Cooper-Smith already put it where it needs to go.
So, this is Frank DeVillio. So I will propose accepting Laura's amendment, changing the 2 words in section 10, changing the county, so from recommends to requires, that all short-term rentals and bed and breakfasts provide Exhibit A
Attached. Yep.
attached. And then, when we look at the exhibit, taking Exhibit A from Mrs. Price, since A and B are, and Mr. Pack's B are virtually identical. So taking number 2, providing hyperlinks for those towns right where it says Easton, St. Michael's, that would be a website that they would be able to click on to take them to the town's websites. And striking number 6 on Exhibit A, as we don't have a way of requiring people to sign these, document it. As much as I would love that, we're requiring that they receive this, so we're requiring that they're going to receive it.
Yep.
And then we don't have to go back
No
and look
problem.
for signatures and that.
Strike number 6, no
So
problem.
striking number 6.
Yep, I think it's simple.
Sounds good?
We're good?
You good?
Does Tony got that?
Mr. Lusher, you good?
I can repeat that.
Mr. DeVillio, just so I can follow along, are you looking at the printed copy of Mr. Pack's?
No.
Yes.
No.
So I'm making a motion on Laura Price's that's online.
Okay.
And that's where I'm striking or changing the 2 words online. So the county council requires, instead of recommends, that all short-term rentals and bed and breakfasts provide Exhibit A. So we're providing those guidelines, which would be the CDC's recommendations, and then it's our own individual recommendations that are Mrs. Price's Exhibit A. So they'll post the Centers for Disease Control Prevention's guidelines. We will have the information for each individual municipality and how they are all acting independently. Encourage guests, ideally I would say guests should, encourage guests to use delivery services for groceries and other goods. Encourage guests to take advantage of delivery and curbside pickup at restaurants, hopefully working with Cassandra to get those posted on there. Encourage guests to come up with required personal protective equipment, striking number 6, and then keeping number 7, modifying check-in, check-out times as needed.
That's good.
That's good.
That's good.
Well done. Are we all comfortable? We know where we are? We follow the ball
I made a motion.
to the point?
I'll second, but I want to make sure that staff understands where we are on this. Mr. Cooper-Smith or...
Tony, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I do have one question. It was a little hard to follow, but in the change to section 10, we're saying the new language would read, the county council requires that all short-term rentals and bed and breakfasts posts.
Provide. The word that he used was provide, Exhibit A, provide.
Requires that all short-term rentals and bed and breakfasts provide the guidelines.
Provide Exhibit A.
Provide that to who?
Provide Exhibit A, which would go, so the landlord is providing that to each new tenant who's coming in. And Exhibit A will have the CDC guidelines in it. So we're providing Exhibit A, so we don't need follow the guidelines. So we're providing them the requirements and the exhibit.
So,
I think it should just be clear about, who's providing it to who.
I think you need to add the word owner, so if you just say the county council recommends that all short-term rentals and bed and breakfast owners provide.
Yes, yes,
So add the word owners in front of it, and then if you want to put
Okay.
to the renter.
correct, yes.
But I thought that you were changing it from recommends to requires.
Yes.
would be the county council requires
Oh, sorry,
that all
yes.
voters
Yes.
Okay.
provide the following guidelines to guests.
Yes.
Yes.
That works too. Owners and guests.
Are we good?
Mhm.
So let me just read it so that we make sure we're all saying the same. This is the last sentence on page 4, and the county council requires that all short-term rentals and bed and breakfast owners provide Exhibit A to all guests, period. And in Exhibit A,
Well, you still have to keep attached here too,
oh,
because it is
well,
attached.
attached here too,
Yes.
okay, but that semantics will be there, attached to here too. And then in the exhibit itself, I'm hearing Mr. Pavilio correctly, on number 2, we're going to add the hyperlinks to the incorporated towns so that the guests can simply go into that and see what the updates are. And then number 6, which I had removed the initial draft, but I offered up, we're going to remove that one again. Okay, all right, I'm with you. Okay, and any other, yes, Mr. Howell?
I just want to make
You
sure.
got to change?
No, this is a separate item on this here, on this. So I just want to make sure, Ms. Price, Mr. Pack's proposal extends the emergency declaration to June 30th. Ms. Price's did not. And Mr. Pack's, under section 6, extension of licenses, extends it to July 30th, 31st, whereas Ms. Price was June 30th. I just want to make sure we're clear and consistent on what the council wants
Well, I
done.
think Ms. Price was working off of my draft and making those changes, if I understood her correctly. So if we're working off of my drafted document, those items would still be as you mentioned. We're
Yes.
just making those changes to number 10 under the draft that I offered up.
Right, so I just want to be concerned because council
Okay.
representative first, those were the only changes. The dates are different in your
You're
document.
absolutely right, Mr. Hollis, you're absolutely right, that those dates were not synonymous as well.
And
So
this-
if we're working off the draft that I offered up,
Date-wise.
those dates wise are going to be in place. It's number 10 that we're focusing on to make those revisions. So,
Yes.
um,
And I would just say for the public's knowledge, the reason that we're extending this, I think more is for being able to access FEMA funds, CARES Act funds, as long as we're under a state of emergency, even though things are starting to loosen up, businesses are opening, and we're going to be discussing the next item with restaurants, things like that, that while it's not necessarily an emergency, it is almost semantics as far as being able to access different types of funding, and that's why we're extending the date.
yeah, and Mr. Stamp is very concerned about that, and
Yes.
to your point. Emergencies have different levels of emergency, and Chuck, you know, as a fireman, has different alarms or alerts, and they work their way down from red to yellow. We are not even at the highest alert right now. I guess we're at somewhere in number 2 or number 3 in our alert category. We're probably going down another rung, perhaps, hopefully, in the next 30 days or so. But we still need this order to be in place to capture and be reimbursed for those FEMA funds and those other state funds and federal funds. Yes.
I had one other question. I just want the council to be aware. Under section 8, boards and commission meetings, you're extending another month through the end of June. Right now, the way this is worded, only critical matters can move forward, such as a Board of Appeals hearing. I am beginning to take more latitude with that word critical because we're going to be stopping people's progress for another 30 days if I hold to that. If you're asking for a variance of a setback, it's not necessarily critical in terms of a health pandemic, but it is critical to that homeowner. I don't want to go another 30 days and stop all of that, all those
That's a good point.
applications, but I want you to be aware of that.
So we're meeting again on Tuesday. So the question is whether we want to go through the rest of this document today, or do we want to go ahead and look at language like that and do it on Tuesday?
Well, we have time this morning.
That's fine. I mean,
rush off. So are you offering another word other than critical for number 8?
I was comfortable simply letting the council know how I'm handling the process. If you'd like to take out the word critical, that's certainly fine. I wasn't asking for that.
I mean, I agree with you, and I think that they can run their meetings, whether they do them virtually or they utilize this setup, or any of our boards and committees. I am totally okay with that, and they can choose whether they want to do a virtual meeting or whether they want to set up this room just like we are for any boards and committee meetings to get going again. I'm totally fine with that. So whatever language we need to put in there,
I'm very proud of our county council, or Mr. Hollis's office, in maintaining government services through this. They've done an excellent job of staying open and staying going. And I'm also very proud of the liquor board holding our very first virtual meeting. They did an excellent job right out the gate with a group that wouldn't necessarily be using technology.
so if you just got rid of the words deemed critical and said for any agenda item by agreement of the board or commission chair and the county manager, the board or commission may hold a meeting to address such, again, get rid of the word critical, to address such item, provided that the meeting be conducted virtually. And I wouldn't say it has to be virtually anymore.
Well,
It can be conducted
again,
virtually or in this room, subject to social distancing.
I would still, to that, I would still want to maintain our distancing and not go full steam right now. I mean, I think you're right. Removing the word deemed critical is a good touch. Let's go ahead and take that out now and let Mr. Hollis and the board make a decision if that matter needs to be put on the agenda and proceeded with. But for me, as I said before, even just changing the SCR, I was somewhat hesitant with. I wouldn't want to go full steam and open up our boards and committees just
They
yet.
can't meet like this? They can't set up this room just like this and do it? I mean, businesses are open now at 50% capacity.
This is technically still a virtual meeting, although we're separated apart.
Right, but I just want to give them the ability to utilize this setup if they want to do it that way. If they want to do it via Zoom or whatever we do, that's fine. If they want to do it here, I don't have a problem with that. I think, we've got less than 10 people in a room here, we're fine. And if you want to wait till Tuesday to talk about that, that's okay too. But at least today we could take out the word critical and then we can have a little further discussion.
Okay, so let's for the day, take out the word deemed critical. And that way, and also the word critical in the second, I guess that's still the first sentence, isn't it? Further down in the first sentence. That way, it would give you, Mr. Hollis, and the commission chair some latitude on those matters that need to be addressed necessarily, and that way you can give it latitude. Okay. And then we can look at whether or not we want to.
Well, we've got the same language in 9 about county council meetings and critical as well.
So there are a number of these issues that I think if we are going to, that we can address comprehensively, I would recommend that we put this on the agenda for Tuesday and work with the legal staff so that we can have clear language in front of us to adopt at that time.
Yeah, and Tony's not here, and I have not. Let's do that then. Let's just deal with number 10 today. I agree.
Yeah.
And we can pick this up on Tuesday.
So I made a motion, Mrs. Price made a second.
Yeah, okay, we're good. And we read through it already. We know what the language how it's going to be, right?
Right.
Okay. Anything further? Motion by Mr. DeVillio. We read through the changes. Everyone's okay with those changes. Anything further on the changes? Mr. Lesher?
Just before we move into a vote, I know that we've heard from a number of constituents with concern on both sides, who want us to open up more, who are worried about this potential step that we're taking. I want us to understand, my approach to this is that we are relying on professional advice from our health officer, from our director of emergency services. We did hear from Dr. Wadley, our health officer, who said that with some reasoning that she cannot make a scientific case for keeping STRs closed and B&Bs closed with the current environment. The risk at this time is far less than before when the virus was less widespread in our community. She laid out a case. This is a decision, this is a course of action that is being informed, just as we went into this with the provisions that were recommended by this professional staff in dealing with epidemiology and the public health emergency. As we take these additional steps, these two must be supported by that critical staff. And my support of this is really critically dependent on those professional recommendations.
As well as mine, as I said before, you and I did speak with your stamp prior to me offering up my recommendation doing the SDRs, and we did hear directly from Dr. Wiley as well.
And while there's a lot of things that we really recommend that people follow, whether it's the delivery service, whether it's bringing, making sure they're bringing their own the PPEs, we can't enforce them. The other thing that I would ask of the vacation rental owners, and I can't require this. The reason we did this 8 weeks ago, we were really worried about New York. We talked about New York and some of the other hot spots in the country, and we didn't want to invite somebody coming from an area that's much more widespread and dangerous, where we've done such a good job. I mean, we have 72 cases. We're on day 70. We have 72 total cases. We've had one death, which was in the second week. So in almost 2 months, we've had no deaths here. If you subtract out the recovered cases, and somebody did the math, I saw it on Facebook, they subtracted out the recovered cases of 50-some people or whatever. It means we have 14 active cases in a county of 38,000. That's a good thing, and there's lots of different reasons that play into that. What I would say to an owner, if someone's trying to make a reservation from New York, if someone's trying to make a reservation from Montgomery County,
Don't say that.
or
Don't say what you're about to say.
I'm just saying, you can't change that, but use your own common sense with that. That is not what we are
Okay,
trying
Mr.
to.
Price, I think we better not go on that path right now. We have a motion and a second. Yeah, we better stop short there. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussions on the revision to section number 10 as laid out by Mr. Villio, I would ask for the secretary to please call the roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lush?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much, council. And one other matter we have is on the county manager? No. I'm sorry, my agenda is so screwed up. I apologize.
Sorry. Take your time. Take your time. Breathe.
County manager's report.
So, Mr. Pack, we only have one item. It's a proposal for a letter to go to the governor from the council requesting outdoor seating at restaurants. You happen to be the author of that letter, so you're probably best to speak to the reason why and what it could be.
Yeah, as I said in the drafting of this letter, I was invited to sit on a Zoom call with Delegate Mounts, and on that call was several restaurateurs from the St. Michael 300 area. And they had a number of things that they want to talk about. The main thing that came up was outdoor seating at their establishment and what the loosening of the stay-at-home order. They felt that they could safely have patrons come in, place an order, sit down at a table and enjoy their lunch. I saw it as being a very reasonable approach. On the heels of that conversation, I saw that a number of other counties were also doing the same thing. We got a letter from Comico County, we got a letter, I believe, from the Upper Shore, from Queen Anne's County. So a lot of other counties have started, and St. Michael's did offer their own letter as well, asking the governor to allow outdoor seating at restaurants. St. Michael's, they referenced in the letter as well, had run into an unexpected problem where people were purchasing their lunch and then going across to the public park and eating their lunch there and depositing their garbage in the trash cans, and they weren't set up for that flow of traffic, and the trash cans became full very quickly and the park got kind of messy. So their park staff was called in, the do some changes. They brought in they have brought in some extra benches, from what I understand from the town manager. I think they also brought in some extra receptacles as well for the trash to try to manage that flow. They were not expecting to see that, and it kind of caught them off guard. So anyway, the weather's warming up. Yeah, the weather's getting better, and I thought it was a reasonable request, and they asked that we would send something up. So I drafted it, and it's very, very simple, just asking that we consider outdoor seating. That's it.
So I listened yesterday to the Board of Public Works, which was Comptroller Franco Nancy Kopp and Lieutenant Governor Rutherford, and I've also seen the post recently by Comptroller Franco about opening this type of thing up, that this is going to be something, given the season, that can be done. I think there's a little bit of a distinction whether you're just allowing them to get their takeout food and sit down at the table, as long as the tables are 6 feet apart, or whether you're asking for tableside service, which I think the answer to that would be no. And I'm reading the other two letters. I think St. Michael's is just saying, I've gotten my takeout, I'm going to sit down at the table myself. I'm not asking a waiter or waitress to come and take my order. Delegate Aaron's looks like it's a little bit different. Yours, Mr. Pack, you could read either way. We are respectfully requesting that restaurants be allowed to use outdoor seating to serve their patrons. If the word serve might be taken to mean that a waiter or waitress would come and serve them. So the only difference that I would make is to be clear that what we're asking for today is to get the takeout food and go and with their thing and sit down, and not asking a waiter or waitress. I don't want him to read that differently. I think maybe in 2 weeks we could ask for the next step if everything goes well. So be allowed to use outdoor seating to not consume their patrons, to consume their food on premises. Because serve means service and a waiter or waitress.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I think that's all they were asking for anyway. So,
But let's be clear, because he,
So, Mrs. Morris, on the drafting, the wording that's in the italics there, allow to use outdoor seating to consume their purchase. How about that? To consume their purchase.
Food and beverage, whatever, yeah.
Whatever that purchase may be.
It's funny, I've seen people sitting, ride up in their pickup truck with family of 4 in it and sit in the back of the truck and have a meal. Yeah, that's safe. I mean, they rode there in the car together. It's excellent. We've got some great picnic areas around here. This is a beautiful area for outside
I
dining.
sat outside an establishment here in town, I won't say where I was, and had my lunch in my car, and next to me was a couple doing the exact same thing. So they went through the drive-thru, purchased their lunch, and just stayed right there on the lot and ate it. So,
Which I guess technically is in violation, because you have to remove it from the premises.
Yep.
yeah. So I guess I'm admitting to violating the governor's ordinance right here on public.
Maybe how I feel.
There you go.
Before we all convict everybody in the room, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we send this letter as adjusted.
As amended, thank you very much.
Second it.
Mr. Billy, second by Mr. Callahan. Any further discussion on the letter? Hearing none, Secretary, please call your roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Howes, I think I skipped over public comment, and what I want to do now, Mrs. Morris, is allow for public comment, and so if you will open up the lines and let us hear from the public.
Okay, Mr. Pack, it appears that we have approximately 24 listeners on the call this morning.
Okay,
We will ask, if you wish to make public comments, that you please identify yourself by name and address. The floor is now open.
You want to make the appeal one more time?
Of course, we've already voted on everything, so they might have been expecting to comment before we voted on the STRs.
Again, the public comment section of the meeting is now open. It appears that there are approximately 24 callers on the line this morning. If you wish to make public comments, the floor is open. We ask that you please identify yourself by name and address prior to speaking.
Okay,
Give
Council.
them a minute for the delay. for you to-
Yeah, I'm listening to the delay. All right. Okay, so we'll wait, that was the YouTube delay, so we'll give it a couple seconds. Yes, sir, they are open. Please identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Keith, K-E-I-T-H, spelling of A-T-T-S, at 5800 Tilden Beach Drive.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. First of all, thank you all for your service. I know that this is a trying and difficult time for many of us. As a short-term rental owner, and also a permanent resident of Tilden Island, this has been a very, very difficult time for me in many respects. My significant other and husband is in New York while I've been here for the last 3 months. So we've been separate. I understand the importance of social distancing. I do not understand, I'll be very honest with you, I wasn't trained for rent for the FDR being finally opened up to outrage that there has been no short-term rental or meetings. I find it difficult to control myself in the language that I might use in front of the council, because this is very emotional for me and for the 151 others who feel singled out and discriminated against for no reason, and someone's got to be in their bonnet about short-term rentals in Talbot County. Quite frankly, sometimes I listen to the goings-on of the council, and having practiced law in another state for 20 years, California to be exact, and I have licenses in several others, it's extraordinary to me sometimes the lack of responsiveness of the council to the people who live in this county, who call it home. We are not foreigners. We live here. We live cheek by jowl with every person who lives on this island, whether they've been here since 1654 and can trace their families back that far, or they just got here yesterday. We're American, and we need to treat each other like citizens. If we're pulling up the drawbridge and saying, I've got mine, I have to go home, this is not the place I want to be. I appreciate the council's actions. I demand that Scott King have a meeting and move the applications forward so that the people who live in this county can pay taxes, and by the way, short-term rentals pay additional taxes that long-term renters don't. It's high time that we be acknowledged for the economic engine that we are for so many businesses, landscapers, plumbers, window installers, planters for screening, all of those things. If you think I'm working about this now, there's more to come. We're watching you. We expect service from you. We appreciate all of the service that you have given. We know you're taking this seriously, but understand, we have livelihoods too, and we are taking it seriously. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. We certainly appreciate it.
Mr.
Is there-
No, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I just wanted to address something that people might not understand. And as far as new applications, we actually had some discussions with our legal department. And we haven't, because this all happened, we had introduced some short-term rental changes, which got put on hold and expired because we were in the middle of this. Currently, new applications can only be taken in January, February, and July, August. And I think that based on previous conversation from a couple of months ago, we all intended to make that year-round. But that is right now still in our ordinance. And so it is not, just so you know, it is not singling it out. We were trying to figure out a way that we could go ahead and accept applications, but by the time, because that change expired, we would have had to reintroduce the short-term rentals. We would have had to advertise for 3 weeks, and then it would take 30 days before it was in effect. By the time we did that, it would have been July. So I understand that the concern, but we end up in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic, and that legislation ended up expiring because it wasn't, one of those critical things. As far as the meetings, you just heard us talk about the fact that we had language in our emergency declaration that unless it was deemed critical, all of the meetings were postponed and have been canceled, and we will be taking that up this coming Tuesday so that we're not doing it on the fly. And I think, as you heard us just say, we will figure out a way, whether they're virtually, whether they can utilize this room, to get all of our meetings back on schedule. But as far as new applications, the ordinance that is in effect was January, February, July, August, and there was really nothing council could do about that. So it's unfortunate, but by the time we would have gone through the process, it would have been July 1 anyway.
Okay. Is there another caller, Mrs. Morris?
Yes, we've had a few more people call into the
Okay.
line.
Is there anyone else want to give public comment at this time?
Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jackie O'Neill. I'm at 6020 Sunset Lane in Gilman. Getting a lot of feedback on the phone. I just want to, I agree with everything Joe Watt said. I'm a short-term rental owner. I have 3 short-term rental licenses. I've had them for almost 20 years, probably over 20 years now. And it's pretty archaic, the changes that have been made lately on the license requirements. And one I would like you to address is the 3-night minimum. And we're all getting letters about that. And it makes absolutely no sense with respect to trying to get business going here in Talbot County, especially in Common Island. And I would like to also add, in addition to the taxes that we pay, our renters are the ones that go to our restaurants, charter our boats, support our businesses and our shops, and we desperately need them. And if they want to come for the weekend, which most of them do, you guys are shutting that down and saying there's a 3-night minimum. That makes 0 sense to anybody. So I would really like that to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on call? Anyone else would like to make a public comment? Mrs. Morris?
The line is open, last round. If anybody wishes to make any comments, please speak up now.
This is Bruce Wilson. I live at 59 Podium Next. I want to thank Mrs. Rice for acknowledging that the vote was taken before public comment was offered and was given an opportunity to speak. I think it says everything we need to know about the way in which this is going to go. Thank you very much.
Anyone else on the line?
Please state your name and address, sir.
My name is Kurt Rosen. I have a practice email.
Okay, Mr. Rosen, one moment. Let me try and mute some phones so we can hear you more clearly. One moment, please. Okay, please go ahead, Mr. Rosen. Yes, please go ahead.
I'd like to talk about this outside seating, if anybody can hear me.
Sure, go ahead.
I can hear you. Okay, I have, well, 28 years in building in Michael Scott State House. I've been in Easton. I've been here for 36 years in Hogan County. And I'm kind of at a standstill at this restaurant being the size that it is and not being able to use the outside tables, which I can probably seat 120 and even at a certain capacity, that could be 40. I tried doing carryout on Friday, having did it for 3 days, and I'm not going to open again until Friday. But it's kind of hard. People sit around everywhere anyway. I got a little bit of a problem. People don't sit in the bars. We have everything roped off everywhere. I've been on a lot of polls, and I just don't agree with one thing. They're putting more tables. We have a beautiful park at St. Michael's, which is great for people to go to. But there's a lot of people that are spending a lot of money for outside areas. I've spent millions of dollars in rent over the last 27 years to be in this area. And I have to stay outside for the guests, which is good sometimes and not good when I get flooded half the time. But anyway, when the weather's nice, people do like to use the outside. I don't see any difference between using my outside deck, and I mentioned to Corey about not waitress service for the time being. Just going to the one pickup window we have, one order window, one pickup window, and then be able to use tables in a responsible manner. No different than people leaving here or any other restaurant and going to the park. We will have somebody, when somebody does get up, clean off the table, and then hopefully there's somebody else that will use the table again. If the park wasn't using the table, then I wouldn't have brought this up. But we're allowed to go to the park and eat. I don't think keep that aside if it were a full capacity. That are just sitting there. And I'd love to be able to use them. I've written letters to the governor, to the school, all of you guys, and St. Michael's, and I've been on all the polls, and that's all I'm asking for, to be able to use my table.
Thank you, sir.
And that's
Is there another-
exactly the letter that we're sending up to the governor.
Is there another caller? No one else, Mrs. Morris?
There does not appear to be anybody else wishing to speak, Mr. Pack.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to close the public comment portion at this particular time. And I believe we're going to council comment. Yeah, a number of the things that the callers touched on, council has already addressed. And we just voted on sending the letter up, as Ms. Price said, and regarding voting on emergency declarations. There's never been where public comment is taken prior to council enacting emergency declaration or amending emergency declaration. There wasn't a big hue and outcry when council closed the STR asking for public comment. And now the council is taking a position to reopen STRs. It's not to say that there's anything nefarious going on. The council is trying to do anything underhanded. Emergency declarations have always been handled this way. So I take exception to Mr. Wilson's comments. Bill 1443 did die. If council wishes to enact that, hopefully once we get through this period of time, so that we can take a look at those recommended STR changes from the board, we'll do so at that time. I know that Mrs. Moran, Mrs. Verdery is attempting to get some issues up and running for the STR board. When and how that will happen is yet to be seen. So that's all that I know on that right now. Council comment, Mr. Lesher?
As we look toward this meeting's Tuesday, this coming Tuesday's council meeting, and addressing other sections of the emergency declaration, I'd like to ask the legal staff to address 3 questions. And maybe we might give instruction to the legal staff to prepare the documents in advance for us to address, one, the reopening of public buildings. We can do so either by appointment or reopening as usual. I would like to consult staff on that about safety measures that can be put in place for staff, anything from masking to plexiglass shields and such. We should have that discussion and have something informed going into that meeting if we choose to go that direction in compliance with the governor's order of reopening retail establishments and like. Second, we do need, as we addressed, as Mr. Hollis addressed, the reopening of board and commission meetings and allow the public either to be in attendance, again, with those appropriate measures in place, or to be able to participate by teleconference or live streaming or any other available technology, so that folks who are not comfortable appearing in person can still comfortably participate. And third, as we pointed out, that would apply not only to our boards and commissions, but to this council itself. Do we provide some sort of public access once, physical access, again, with appropriate safety provisions in place, social distancing and PPE, to allow the public to participate in our meetings and allow us to address these non-emergency matters again. Right now, we are basically restricted to addressing emergency matters. So I'd love for us to be able to tackle those three, and nothing that we should do should be out of compliance with the governor's emergency declaration, revised orders. But there's, as those have changed, there may be some room for us also to adapt.
Okay. So I got four things. The opening of public to the county buildings, which Mr. Hollis can certainly speak to that. He's already working on that plan. The boards and commissions, council meetings, public access to council meetings, and that those items that are being critical, which we talked about before. Do you want to speak to your draft as far as county public buildings or county public, allowing the public into county buildings? I know you're working on something now, and
Sure, so we've developed the first draft. Council, I anticipate having it out to council tomorrow. It needs some more refinement. I will emphasize to the council and to the public, county government did not close. This plan is to bring staff back to full levels, as well as providing access, limited or in some manner, however, of the public back into county buildings. And those items will be addressed in the draft report. I will emphasize, as Mr. Letcher said, we are trying to be in compliance with the governor's executive order. His last comments spoke about the need for people to continue to telework where possible, which is what county staff have been doing. There's more than one school of thought as to when full staff should be back and what safeguards should be in place. We are going through all of that now, and we'll be happy to identify that for you on Tuesday, as well as give you the plan ahead of time so you can look at it.
okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Price?
I'll probably save most of my comments for kind of where we are today and how things are changing, but I said it last week that I really feel it's time to start getting government out of the way and trusting our businesses and trusting people to do the right thing. I think people are more likely to do that when they're not being told what to do, because when you're being told what to do, you automatically kind of want to go against that. And it's been long enough now that I think there's a lot more understanding of who's vulnerable, who's not, what safe actions can be taken, that with the weather the way it is, that outside is safe. That's exactly where we should be. I don't see why, we can't walk down a beach, whether it's in Ocean City or in Oxford, to start thinking about encouraging people to get outside and to not, to use caution, to use what your comfort level is, but people's comfort level is going to be different. And so if you're not comfortable, then use more caution for those, especially like I said, with summer and the weather and getting outside and enjoying that. It's time to do that. We're all going to be healthier if we do that, not only for our physical health, but for our mental health. I would also say try not to be so judgmental of other people. It's, you know, I hear people trying to be, you know, the police and complaining about what other people are doing. And as long as they're doing so in a manner that's away, I guess I'm going a little too far. We need to start trusting ourselves to do the right thing, and businesses, and allowing them the flexibility to put guidelines in place in their own places of business, instead of us always telling people what to do. There is, you know, now a time for personal responsibility, and not always expecting someone to do it for you. I think we're all grown-ups, and that we can do the right thing, and I would encourage that now to start taking care of yourself. And we can't create a perfectly safe environment for you. If it's, you know, business, you know, do they wipe down the handle on their front door? We try to do that. Businesses are encouraged to do that. But if you don't see a business doing that, doesn't mean it's not getting done. So if you're not comfortable, then, you know, bring your own sanitizer to wipe that down. We will do, as businesses, we will do everything we can. As a government, we will do everything that we can. But you also have to take care of yourself as well. I think it's a three-legged stool with that, and it's time to move on and do all of those things together, than always relying on someone to tell you what to do and to keep you safe. Thanks.
Right. Mr. DeVillio?
I would just like to say, from a brief experience I had coming in this morning, I'd really like to thank all the frontline county employees who are fielding phone calls without any answers. And I have a county Parks and Rec board meeting tonight where we're going to be discussing the pools and camps for this summer. And this morning I saw Preston Mr. Pepper receive a phone call from a family trying to find out if there were going to be camps this summer. And he doesn't have the answers yet. We don't know. And we're still trying to decide. But there's a lot of members of this community who are looking for the services that we provide. And at this time, we just don't have all the answers yet. We're hoping to work to those as quickly as we can. But I really appreciate all of our county employees, the extra stress that they're under, and the difficult phone calls that they're receiving from angry citizens who are just trying to get things done.
Thank you. Mr. Callahan?
First of all, I want to thank staff for putting this together today for us. It's an unusual time for us to be here, but it's extremely important that we're here working for the public. We've done a good job at this point. Dr. Frida Wadley, Clay, Andy, his staff, Jess and Susan. I can't thank you guys enough. Putting this stuff together, it's been 70-some days, and been in the trenches, taking guidance from 5 different people and 5 different ideas. So, you know, we've all worked together. I would like to thank council. You know, this week we've all talked, we've all come to an agreement. It took a lot for that to get here. I really want to thank Mr. Pack for his thoughts and understanding of how important some of this stuff is in the respect of getting things sort of to a phase where we're starting to open it up. And I really appreciate you know, going a little bit of extra mile for us. I appreciate that, because I think at the end of the day, there's not one person listening and one person in here that doesn't want it safe. And that's what we're all striving for. but at the same time, everybody's looking for the new normal and getting back to things being better around here, because we got such a great county and we got great people living in here. And I just want to thank everybody's part of getting us to this point. And I think we got great things coming in the next month to 6 weeks, and we can go that much farther. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Chuck, for those words. I think if you look back at my record when it comes to STR, I think I've been one of the strongest proponents of STR legislation on the council, this council, and the prior council, wanted to make sure that STRs could exist in Talbot County as they have for years, but making sure we also respected the serenity of the communities that they are in. And I think finding that balance is what past council and what this council is still trying to strive to do. So my hesitation initially in reopening STRs was no way based on my lack of support or my change of support for STRs. It was over my concern of public health. And that's where my concern came from, and that's where my concern will remain in making sure that we do things as we move along this path. We do things, as Mr. Lesher said, with data and with the input of our health officers, not just because we're getting some phone calls or because we're getting some emails, but because we have good data to back up while we're making that decision. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're going to be held accountable for. Where did you make the decision? Or you make the decision based on a couple of phone calls, the emails you got, or you're making the decision based on the health data that you're receiving from those people that you hired to do their job. So my hesitation certainly didn't come from that I was trying to stifle the STR homeowners, not so ever, but I wanted to make sure that the information we were getting from the Director of Emergency Services and from the health officer lend us to moving down this path. And we heard back from them in the phone call that Mr. Lesher and I had, and I felt comfortable in offering the changes after that phone call. And also in consultation with our municipal governments, we're trying to make sure we strike a good working balance with them, and we do things collaboratively with them. They've been on every call that we've had, as you know, at the EOC, as we're now venturing out into some different funding opportunities through the CARES funding that we did receive, and I sent you guys the email that we did receive of $3.2 million from CARES, and that's going to go to helping out some small businesses who may have received PPP funding early on, but that funding may have run its course, and they still may need some bridge gapping to get them to better ground. So we're going to be looking at doing that with Cassandra. We're also working with Linda Webb at DSS to make sure we help out the individuals when it comes to rental assistance, utility assistance, and those kind of things. Because although the courts have put evictions on hold, although utility companies weren't shutting people off, those bills are still mounting, and there will be a day of reckoning when you're going to get a knock at the door saying, hey, look, you owe me. So we want to help people who have been affected by the COVID virus and may have lost their job because their job wasn't deemed essential, and because of that, they now fall into some dire straits in their life. So we're going to be needing to work with our towns to do that. There is also some CDBG money out there as well, and that we're trying to see if we can also find a way to access funding for that and bring that back into the towns, back into the county, but also in working with our towns. So I say all that to say that my hesitation was to make sure that we had the health data to back it, but also that we were hearing from our towns and giving them an opportunity to weigh in. And so and then YouTube bashed me and beat me up. So after taking that consideration, we are who we are. I gave up. So, but with that being said, again, it's hard to get people from a state of compliance to a state of commitment. And I think by and large, 80% of America they'll comply. If you say don't do this, they won't do it. If you say don't speed, they won't speed. But and we're saying wear your face mask, we're saying do social distance, we're saying, wash your hands 20 seconds and follow the CDC recommendations. And people will go for a while, they will comply. But as you go down months, weeks turn into months, months turn into more months and so forth, the compliance will start to wane a bit. And I think the trick is how to now get people to go from a state of compliance to a state of commitment, where they understand the bigger picture that's involved. And I think that's what governments are now trying to do. Because this is not going to be a summer virus, from what I'm hearing. This is not going to be come September, throw the switch and let's go to football season. This is going to be something until we get a vaccine in place, until we get make sure that the people have the right amount of antibodies in place. They talk about herd immunity, where there's enough people to get it, that now we're all just build up immunity, you can fight it off together as a group. Maybe it's going to take some of that too, and so, but yet and still, we're going to have to keep on getting people to be committed to the cause, but at the same time, helping them out, and that's where the funding mechanism come into place, because you've got to help people out, you just have to. So, but that's my piece on it, and I'm not going to take up any more time. So with that being said, our next meeting will be held, let me read this. County Council's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 26th, beginning at 6 p.m. The council will be convening in open session at 4:30 and immediately adjourning into closed session to discuss real estate, legal, personnel matters as listed on the statement for closing that meeting. Ms. Marsh, is there anything that we have left?
That's it,
We're good?
Mr. Peck, thank you.
We're good, Mr. Talbot? We're good? Okay, council, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.